brands, restaurants, businesses have been really, really supportive of our conference and have provided goodie bags for us, have welcomed us into their restaurants. And we are really, really excited to welcome one of the iconic brands of the area here to speak with us today. Joining us as our MC is Adam Winkler. Adam is a sportscaster with the local CBS affiliate here, and he is going to take us through a conversation with the communications team from Livestrong. We're going to run this like we would a typical news interview, so we've got about 45 minutes to get through about 15 to 20 questions, and Adam is going to make sure that we learn everything we can about how Livestrong moves on with their brand and their important mission based on some very high level, very important issues that we're facing their organization. So Adam, I will turn it over to you to introduce our speakers.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me okay? Everybody can hear me all right? I'm never accused of being too soft-spoken. What Abby failed to mention is, the theme of this conference, this city, is keep it weird, keep Austin weird. My career has been weird. Most people in my business go from TV to PR. They wise up, want to finally make some money, want to get some more manageable hours. Well, I went from PR to TV. I worked for Winkler Public Relations, my parents, for a couple months after graduation, and then decided to take the vow of poverty and become a sports monkey, and have been doing that for about a decade now, and thrilled to be in Austin, thrilled to be here for this incredible panel. As you know, the Livestrong Foundation lives on is the title of our panel. We've all heard the stories. Hopefully you've watched some of the news reports in some form or fashion, and we are here today to share the stories, to hear from the people who manage the crisis communication effort, the people you are here to hear, not me. Katherine McLane, the VP of Communications and External Affairs of the Livestrong Foundation. To her right, Rae Bazzarre, Director of Communications and External Affairs for the Livestrong Foundation. Quick round of applause for them for being here. As Abby mentioned, we're not Oprah. We don't have 2 nights of 2 hours to talk about this thing. We've got 45 minutes. They're going to share their insights into how this iconic brand, this worldwide organization, continues to move forward with its mission, despite the fact that its incredibly high-profile founder, Lance Armstrong, is no longer with the foundation. Any quick word before we get started with the Q&A? Anything? Awesome. Before the chronology, the timeline of events, tell us why y'all were hired by the Livestrong Foundation. How did you get started?
I love answering this question, if I may. So Rae and I both had Washington jobs. I worked in the Bush administration. Rae was the Kennedy Center's publicist for many years. Very relaxing jobs to have, as you can imagine. And both of us, at a certain point in our career, thought, wouldn't it be great to move to a nice, quiet town and take a non-profit job where the hours are short and the weekends are long and you can do things like garden and have hobbies. And so both of us made our way to the foundation. We were attracted to an incredibly noble cause, which is serving people affected by cancer today. And little did we know what lay ahead for us.
Nice segue.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the events, the timeline, the chronology leading up to Lance resigning from Livestrong Foundation.
So we have that chronology here for you. This ordeal, we call it an ordeal, began in May of 2010. And what was most interesting about a lot of the news headlines that day is that they actually buried the lead. Because while Floyd Landis did announce a whistleblower lawsuit, that same day, if you read about 3 or 4 drafts into most of the stories, the federal government had also launched an investigation. They closed that investigation in February of 2012, and we breathed a sigh of relief, thinking we were going to be able to move on. But actually, that was not the case. And a year ago, I think it's actually a year ago this week, is when the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency announced that they were launching an independent investigation from there, the long process, at least it felt long to us, began to unravel. And so that takes us to last October. And in October, USADA announced their reasoned decision. And at that point, it became, the evidence really spoke for itself. And that led the foundation to work with Lance to make a decision for him to step down as chairman. And the timing of that happened to coincide with our much anticipated 15th anniversary weekend that we had been planning for an entire week.
It was week long, but we were playing for a year
Yes.
or more. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. It wasn't something that we just thought, hey, feels like a good time to have a party, doesn't it?
And then, as you know, after we had each gone down our separate path, Lance in January made an admission to here we are today.
And the important caveat there, how many days notice did you receive before the Lance interview?
6.
We had about 6 days. 6 days to be ready for that.
We will we'll address more on that in a little bit. We all saw Lance. We know he's a very active chairman. Did the foundation support him through this federal investigation, and did he remain active during that timeline he was from?
That's a very good question. As I said a few minutes ago, the mission of the foundation is to help people through the challenges that they face today as a result of the cancer diagnosis. So say you're a recent immigrant, you don't have insurance, you have 3 kids, you're diagnosed with breast cancer, and you have no way to pay for it. Our doors are open to people like that. We help them get insurance, get access to care, which can mean the difference between life and death. Now, what I've just described could not be further away from the world of professional psych. So the people who work at the foundation they have PhDs in public health, they're health policy experts, they're social workers, people who have chosen a life of low pay, long hours for the sake of helping humanity. From our perspective, the most important thing we could do is stay focused on serving the people who are turning to us during what were probably some of the darkest days of their lives in the family thought. And that's what we did for throughout the entire period.
This was a worldwide crisis. I mean, everybody saw these headlines. You're looking at the Livestrong Foundation's crisis communications team. It is the two of them. Through this process, did you have to bring on help? How did you manage this with y'all running the show?
Well, we're the communications team. Over the course of this ordeal, we have become subject matter experts on this topic. And so we felt that we were actually pretty well qualified at this point to handle this situation. However, after Lance's resignation last November, we made a decision to bring on the global partners out of Washington, D.C. to conduct some public opinion research for us. We felt it was no longer time for our strategy to be based on our gut, that we needed to move forward with data-driven information to help create our strategy moving forward.
As a local journalist covering the story, granted I didn't cover it a ton because I do sports, and this was such a big deal locally that it was a news story. I mean, they weren't going to wait until 28 minutes after the hour to hear the latest. So I didn't cover a ton of it. But when I was, the thing that caught my attention was there was always something available, kind of 24/7. A tweet coming from the foundation, a release going up on the website. How did y'all manage that? And this is a 24/7 news cycle, a 140-character world we live in. How did y'all manage that, process of releasing it?
Well, I think our strategy from the very beginning was, if you're dealing with a crisis situation, you have a choice. You can whisper or you can shout. You can, let matters overwhelm you, or you can take control of what you know is going to be a tough news day for you, and work with, a trusted reporter to get the news out proactively. So we actually focused a lot on, getting ahead. that is, you know, you beat people to the punch. There's a tough thing to break, you break it. You don't let, you know, someone scoop it for you.
We touched on it a minute ago, 6 days before Lance told all to Oprah, y'all got the news about it without giving us too much detail and with some of the words that might have been thrown around the foundation, you found out the news.
Bad words.
What was going on? I mean, because you knew that there would be a media onslaught before, during, after. Take us through what the foundation like during those days.
Well, the morning that Lance did was going to be the interview with Oprah. The first stop that he made was to the foundation to come talk to our staff, and he gave a sincere and heartfelt apology. And it was emotional for him, and it was emotional for us. And at that point, you know, we wished him well. Our staff was very happy to see him that day. We were completely surprised. And I think it meant a lot to him that he took the time to do that. And then we wished him well and complimented him.
Exactly. And we had spent, you know, the days preceding looking at tightening our website, reaching out to so many of our donors and supporters and friends of the foundation who've been with us throughout, you know, 15 years of history, who had always, you know, been more than willing to speak on our behalf. And we realized this is one of those moments where we have to let others speak for us. We have to, you know, the point is to remind the world about, you know, the excellent work of the foundation. It's a very noble mission. And we let our donors, supporters, and friends do that in USA Today, on CNN, you know, at every national outlet we could. We pushed, you know, Friends of the Foundation out. We used one media opportunity for our CEO. So on that day, where so much attention was on the foundation, we rolled the dice, but it worked. Our CEO appeared with Matt Lauer the following morning after the first broadcast. And it was tough, but it certainly gave him a chance to remind the world, our doors are open. It is business as usual at the foundation. We're not going anywhere. This change is nothing.
Did you know, obviously you knew Lance would admit, tell all, did you know all that he would say when he came and met with y'all? Did you have time to prepare your CEO for Matt's interview the next morning?
We actually didn't know what Lance was going to say. We heard those words for the first time in the world. And so, you know, it was very hard thing to hear, but we had a foundation to lead and people to serve.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, preparing for the Today Show that following morning, I mean, you know, it's funny, when you think in our business, you have to, you know, construct something elaborate or whatever, but truly, what he said to Matt was, we're deeply disappointed, but we're relieved, because finally all the speculation is gone. You know, we know the truth now, and in order to move on, we have to, you know, he personally had to forgive Lance, which he did, and it's back in mission.
As y'all know, crisis communication is more than just issuing a statement, issuing a press release. Any hack with a Twitter handle and push content. And how did y'all control the info sharing during this whole process when a lot of the info wasn't necessarily coming from your well thought out process of control?
Well, we thought of this as a campaign model. We had our base voters, and we actually had, and so the morning after, you see this, that's January 18th, we pushed this out to, through our social media channels. And it became the most shared piece of content in the foundation's history. So that meant so much to us that we knew that our supporters were with us. And then we have our swing voters.
When you get a second diagnosis of breast cancer, all the hopes and dreams that you had for your life and getting beyond cancer just sort of end at that moment. I had cancer about 5 years before I found the lump, so I was really surprised when it came back. My husband and I were getting ready to start a family, we were so excited about our future, bought a new house and had a dog, and we were ready. My best chance for surviving long term was to have my ovaries removed. I thought that becoming a mom wasn't going to be a possibility anymore. I went to see my oncologist. She told me doing IVF or in vitro fertilization was an option. We started to get a little hopeful. She connected us with Livestrong. We worked with the navigator to help pay for the medications and services for freezing embryos. And during that time, my sister-in-law Lisa had a dream that she carried our baby for us. She came forward and said, "I'm going to do this for you." She knew how important it was for us to be parents, so she stepped up and offered. And 9 months later, Lily D was born. I love being a mom and having a family, and it gives me something to think about other than cancer. Even though, there's late nights and little sleep, you just kind of forget about those things. Livestrong made what we thought was impossible possible.
So pieces like that, obviously, for people who are either confused about the Foundation's mission or, have absorbed all this coverage about, another topic. This was a great piece to help put our message and our mission front and center again. So that was a very, very effective piece in order to sort of refocus the conversation for people who are kind of on the fence.
The social media piece we saw was the day after. How long before that video was social was viral?
Well, we had that in can, but we very aggressively pushed that out, as you can imagine, during that week. And some of it, some of our efforts actually preceded the airing of the show because we wanted, a good cover out there, obviously, in advance. And this might have been one of those pieces that we made strong after with.
And that goes along with staying ahead of the game.
Bingo.
As communicators, it's a priority not only to manage the crisis at hand, but keep the organization going. There is a mission, there is another world, even though it seems like your world is revolving around the crisis at hand. What were the practices that you employed to make sure that the Foundation was still continuing on as you were managing this worldwide crisis?
We became very disciplined about our messaging, and we focused mostly on amplifying the message of our cancer support services and amplifying the stories of everyday Americans, just like you and me and our neighbors and our friends and our family, and pushing those out there while the guy who had been the face of the Foundation was a battle. And so we stuck to the facts. We're extremely proud of our record. 84 cents of every dollar goes directly to improve the lives of people affected by cancer. We raised $500 million to improve the lives of people affected by cancer. 87 million wristbands have been distributed around the world. And so we just stuck to the facts. We pushed them out there time and time again, and that's what we're continuing to do.
I'm glad you mentioned the wristband because our next question is about branding. You would have to be paying attention to notice that Livestrong did recently change its logo. It wasn't a drastic change, but it was tweaked. And the most interesting part to me is it's still yellow, a very distinct color, and yellow is associated with the brand, obviously, but it's also associated with the Tour de France and the yellow jersey and the 7 of them that Lance won and no longer has. Was there ever a consideration of a complete brand overhaul, or maybe distancing yourself from yellow that has done so much for y'all for so many years?
Yeah, well, listen, of course we had to ask ourselves that. But as Rae mentioned, we did the right thing in retaining a great firm to help us do the public opinion research that would help us make decisions like that. So rather than, a bunch of people sitting in a room and spitballing and, going on their gut, we actually had the numbers to show us people still cared about this foundation. They still believed in its, high level of excellence and service and good governance. we have too much equity built in, the current shape and form of this brand to change it. It would hurt us to change it drastically. So what you see is a subtle change, and it helps clarify that, people sometimes get confused. They buy, something that's branded Nike, whether it's a pair of shoes or sunglasses, and they think, wait, does Nike own Livestrong, or what is it? And, so by emphasizing the foundation in the actual brand of the foundation, you get a little clarity here. And plus, at the heart of the matter is this: the brand became bigger than its founders and creators, and it did that years ago, not just in the last few years. So abandoning ship and throwing the baby out the bathwater would have been the wrong thing to do.
What now? Where does the Livestrong Foundation go from here? Do you feel like the quote-unquote storm is weathered? What's next?
Well, listen, anyone who's seen recent coverage, I think can imagine that this is a rebuilding of the foundation. It's going to be tough. I think, the organization that we were a year ago, 2 years ago, is no longer who we are today. And we have a lot of work ahead of us, reintroducing ourselves to the world through pieces like the one that we saw. Making sure that people understand that this organization has its arms wide open and its doors wide open to help anyone who doesn't have insurance and just got diagnosed with cancer, or who has a child affected that way, whether it's emotional or practical support, or dealing with the after effects physically of a cancer diagnosis. We're here to help. And investing in research means help, hopefully 15, 20 years down the road for people who are diagnosed. But this organization focuses on helping people.
This is the final question that I have. Unlike Oprah, we're going to let you all ask some questions, so hopefully we can hear from you after we wrap this up here. I want to know, what lessons have you learned through this process? Anything you would do differently? And perhaps more importantly for y'all, any advice to somebody who might be handling, hopefully not a similar crisis, but if it's a crisis to everybody. What advice would you give somebody for this?
We have learned a lot of lessons. And I think number one for us is about being proactive. That's been just critical to get through this for our organization. And we've also learned about taking a high road. That sometimes that's hard to do, but it's important and it's the right thing to do. And we always believe in open and honest communication, both internally and externally. And I think one of the things that I learned personally, and I think you all as communicators can really relate to, that some of our best work are the quiet victories that don't ever make the headlines. And there's a lot of that that's been involved over the past several years.
Yeah, certainly. Also, I think one of the other things I really, really appreciate about the foundation is before the troubles, we would have team meetings once a month, and we would update each other on, my program is doing this, and, we've served X number of people in this capacity, and, here's how we're serving the survivors internationally, and, it was just sort of an informational kind of thing. But there's nothing like crisis to pull a team together and to create that sense of community and mutual support, which really happened. And it was kind of, a consolation during an incredibly tough time. But we decided, the best way to keep people in that zone is to over-communicate. You don't let your people hear about Oprah, from a press release. If you can, you try to beat things to the punch, and you get people in a room and you say, listen, this sucks, but this is what we believe is going to happen. And I guarantee you, I'd far rather hear it from me than, from you, Adam, I'm sorry to say. Yeah, so over-communicating with the internal team. Sometimes I would, my attention would turn more outward, but, I'm glad I was always reminded that, hey, we got to take care of our people first.
Awesome insight. Thank you for the candid answers. Hopefully more to come. Anybody want to pick the brain of these crisis communication experts? You had your hand raised first.
I do have a question, because there were so many questions about McLane Armstrong prior to this admission. And I'm wondering if back when some of the earlier investigations were underway, if you had a plan in place, or if they found you guilty of doping, or if at any point you said,
You know, if there's one thing, one skill that we improved on throughout the last 2 years, it was, you know, the ability to pivot very quickly. But you're talking about, you know, a group of people, including our excellent board of directors who come from, you know, both the medical world and the business world, and, you know, all walks of life, but who are, you know, highly intelligent, very ethical people, who made the best decisions they could with the facts that they knew. And as soon as they realized that they had not been told the truth, they acted very swiftly to take the appropriate steps. Now, that's not, you know, those crucial internal deliberations are not something that, you know, usually your press lead has access to. So the best we could do was anticipate. And of course, you know, if the Department of Justice launches an investigation into, you know, someone's career, you know, we have to assume that we have to prepare for an eventuality like that. But, you know, the resignation was kind of the thing that we, it was sort of our worst nightmare. We never imagined, you know, we were prepared, but, you know, we certainly always hoped that it wouldn't come to that. But, you know, with the way things played out, it was the right thing.
You said worst nightmare. Was this the worst case scenario?
I would say. I mean, especially, you know, considering the resignation rate, I think so. And, you know, to us, and I have to say, you know, we're among friends here, but, you know, we knew a guy who quietly sat by thousands of bedsides and, you know, held a mom's hand as she, you know, told him about her child's diagnosis. We knew a guy who was, you know, kind and generous and sincerely, you know, heartfelt devotion to this mission. And, you know, remember, we created an organization before he was famous. He wasn't a celebrity who, you know, his agent said, hey, you know what would be good right now is if you get a cause. I mean, this was a guy who was little known, and he didn't just grab a cause like, oh, education reform, and, you know, no flies on education reform, I happen to believe in it, but, you know, he experienced this disease himself. This was something that, you know, was very, very personal to him. So, you know, we knew a very different person than the one who's kind of been front and center in the press.
So for him not being a celebrity, you joined the foundation. He wasn't even psychic. You didn't even know there'd be a comeback.
Right.
So let's see how it's evolved. I saw some more hands out there. Reach out to that.
Yeah, you mentioned the resignation from the board and so forth. And I thought that was a huge turning point, but I'm curious, I don't know how much you can talk about it, but how much back and forth, how much contention, was this a slam dunk, or there had to be a lot of people on both sides of this, board members on down, that were, you know.
Well, as the communications director, most of those conversations took place at a higher pay grade than mine.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, Lance was actively involved in those conversations and wanted to do the right thing. And it was really, really hard for both sides. You know, he had built this foundation from day one. And so, and also just the timing of it was also really hard. We were supposed to be, you know, celebrating our 15 years, which we did, but we did it with the cloud over us.
Any more questions? In the back on your right.
That's a great question. So, one, we have a very diversified funding model. So, we take donations just like everybody, you know, else in the nonprofit world. And if you'd like to donate, by the way, please visit livestrong.org. You can certainly use it. We have an incredible brand that we license to corporations like Nike or Oakley for use on their products. And, you know, in return, we get money in the door. You know, as I said earlier, our situation has changed drastically, right? You know, our famous founder has departed, and, you know, has a cloud over him. And we have to reinvent ourselves and our business partners. Now, a group like Nike, We recently announced that after the 2013 holiday collection, there will be no more Livestrong product that Nike produces. Here again was an example of, this is going to be a tough thing for the foundation to swallow. So how did we approach getting this news out? Now, among friends, Nike's idea was, well, let's not make any kind of announcement about it. Let's just let the retailers know, and then we'll see what happens. And Rae and I, this was during a conference call, we looked at each other like, well, that's crazy. I mean, we knew, and of course, when we love Nike,
look a lot.
yeah, the tearing of the hair and going Mach 3 with your hair on fire. We loved Nike. They were a partner for 9 years. They gave us a stage and a level of exposure for, our mission that we never could have achieved on our own. We've always been grateful to them. But on this front, we knew this is, where we were the subject matter experts. We knew that once again, huge spotlights would be turned to the foundation. Maybe not so much to Nike, but definitely to us. So we took a proactive approach to get that news out. And worked with a great reporter at the AP to do sort of a first write-through of a story that was fair and balanced and related the history behind this decision. Got it out there, and so that shaped the coverage that resulted from that. But we're going to have a different kind of partner moving forward. We have to, and we're going to work more closely with partners in the healthcare community, with groups that are sincerely and deeply devoted to helping people rectify cancer.
Did you monitor the messaging that the U.S. anti-doping agency is putting out to try to stay ahead of things and see what comments they have on their, coming back to their Facebook?
Well, we read what was in the paper. I mean, that was the only way we got information, was, reading, what the AP or the Post or the Times was putting out. That's how we stayed informed about what was happening. But no, I mean, we didn't go to that level of, scrutiny. These two didn't have time. I mean, two-man shop.
So did you have any interaction with any of the PR people? For example, did Lance Armstrong have his own PR person that's separate from the foundation?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're looking at people who advised him up until the separation occurred. At that point, it would no longer be appropriate for us to, be in that zone with him. So, he has a great team that helps him with that.
Next month, the cycling stage will be set in a big way, the Tour de France. Are you proactively working ahead with messaging to leverage that or to shy away from that? There will be parallels drawn, I'm guessing, as there have been in the past. Do you have a plan?
Well, it's not our DNA to shy away from things at all. I think our plan is most of that attention is going to be focused on Lance. And it's going to be focused on the status of the cycling community, how it's repairing itself. We're keeping our fingers crossed that that's where most of the attention will go, and that, if there is attention around, and where is the foundation now, that it's another opportunity for us to put that strong, business as usual, focused on serving survivors message forward.
You can just beat his hand.
Well, I'm a huge bicyclist and a huge bicycling fan, and I was a Lance fan too, and I'm also tapped into the services of the Livestrong Foundation. And I just wanted to say that, and I get the newsletter, and I thought the messaging and the newsletters that you sent out were just beautiful, really thoughtful. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You wouldn't classify as one of the haters that we talked about before we got in here. Yes, sir.
Interested to know, obviously there's a lot of foundations in the world that don't really raise funds. They've got a collection of funds that they forever can dole out. Is that one of the strategies that you're looking at? Is maybe we just get rid of 90% of this infrastructure, become a much more small and giving organization rather than a fundraising organization?
Well, I think if our primary purpose were to fund research, we would certainly look into that. But we're a service organization. Our doors are open for people who come in and say, my child's having a hard time dealing with my breast cancer diagnosis. You need a person there who can help them. So we actually, our mission requires that we have doors open and people there to welcome patients and survivors who walk in and out. We do have a very strong endowment. We've always been, had a very sort of conservative approach to our finances. So we've put money away, for many years, luckily.
Couple more minutes if anybody's got another question. Yes, ma'am.
Sure, that would be a very succinct answer. Our headquarters, one and only office, is here in Austin, Texas. It's located in East Austin, which is an underserved part of the community. So we specifically selected that part of town so that we could serve that area that we know is in need of our services.
How far then is your reach to what you serve people outside of Austin and outside of
So, our cancer support services, which are free, are available nationally, online and by phone. And then we actually have a physical Livestrong Cancer Navigation Center here in Austin that people can actually come into.
Any final questions?
I can talk about later, but I have to actually go to the microphone. I just want to thank Rae, Katherine, for being here, and I have to tell you that when we announced to our group that you would join us, it was such a wonderful surprise, and even people outside our organization, some of our other speakers who we think are also very wonderful and important people, they were as equally impressed that we were able to get you here. And we want to ask one more thing, that if people, if they say, did they really have to convince you to speak to this group, please go along with our story that Abby had to really, really work hard to get you here. Or the other story is that when you're so good at what you do, it just takes one phone call. So thanks to Abby.
Well, can I just add that
please.
Abby happened to reach out and invite me to a drink the week of the Oprah interview with Ari. I really wanted to take her up on that drink, but I had to decline given everything we had on our plate.
And I believe that email was sent from when we were here in January for our planning meeting, where we were actually going back and forth and saying, several of us said, we should have them here, and some people admittedly were a little like, is that what we want? But we said, yes, we want to talk to the communications people. And I know that everybody agrees at this point that it was a very wonderful idea. And also, thanks to Adam, who has, I think, has just kind of become a member of our group, because not only is he here in this role, but he's done lots of other things in prep for the conference. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.